Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. When Britain nuked America twice, I think I've reacted to a Mark Felton Productions before. Let's see. Let's do it. Sure. Original video link at the top description below. Discord right below that. Go to the Discord and let's do it. Right into it. My guess is it's going to be like some technicality. Clearly, they didn't kill anyone, American citizens, unless I'm about to learn something big. But I'm sure maybe they were testing nuclear weapons near American waters or something, and technically, sorry if there's noise, that happened. That's my guess.
In the 1960s, Great Britain nuked the United States not once, but twice. Fortunately for all concerned, the attacks were only training exercises, but so embarrassing were these attacks that they were hidden from the American public for about 50 years, as well as being strenuously denied to the American press for decades. As far as America was concerned, its defenses were 99% effective. But in simulated attacks, Royal Air Force bombers managed to penetrate US airspace to launch nuclear attacks on New York City and several other important urban centers. Before I tell you how, a word from our sponsor. This episode...
Make your money. Oh, they're a big curiosity stream. I see that.
The best streaming service for lovers of history. How did the British manage to penetrate the world's most heavily defended airspace? The answer is surprisingly simple and consists of two words: Avro Vulcan. The Vulcan first flew in 1952. The team that created it, led by Roy Chadwick, who had designed the famous Lancaster heavy bomber of World War II. A jet-powered, tailless, delta-wing, high-altitude strategic bomber, the Vulcan was the backbone of Britain's nuclear airborne deterrent during most of the Cold War, serving from 1956 until retirement in 1984. This is the story of Exercise Sky Shield, when Britain nuked its closest ally, exposing how the Soviet Union could have done the same for real. In 1960...
The reason I've just been straight-faced this whole time is because I know there's a but. Like, it's not like this was training exercises or whatnot.
Of Exercise Sky Shield, when Britain nuked its closest ally, exposing how the Soviet Union could have done the same for real. In 1960, the United States decided to run the largest test of its air defenses in history. Exercise Sky Shield
53
1,
or 60.
air defense. In 1960, the United States decided to run the largest test of its air defenses in history. Exercise Sky Shield 1 occurred on the 10th of September 1960, and all commercial air traffic over the US and Canada was grounded, amounting to 1,000 US commercial flights and amounting to 1,000 US commercial flights and 700 general aviation aircraft, plus a further 31 foreign flights due to land in North America. The US Strategic Air Command would launch B-52 Stratofortresses and B-47 Stratojets to simulate a massive Soviet nuclear bomber force approaching North America from north and south. 360 US interceptor aircraft stood ready to defeat these enemy aircraft, which numbered 310. Among those 310 aircraft were 8 Royal Air Force Vulcan B-2 nuclear bombers. A flight of 4 flew from Scotland, while the other 4 launched from the British territory of Bermuda in the Atlantic Ocean. The American plan was to detect these enemy bombers by radar and other early warning systems, and then they would be intercepted and destroyed in simulated attacks by US jet fighters and missile batteries. The attacking bombers split their attacks between high and low altitude. The defending fighters did very well against the stratojets and stratofortresses, intercepting many of them, but the Vulcans proved more elusive opponents. The Vulcan flew at the highest altitude of the simulated Soviet bombers, cruising at 56,000 feet. One was successfully intercepted at this altitude over Goose Bay, Labrador.
The only reason I kind of say wow is that I'm pretty sure commercial airlines are at like 30,000 feet, so that's almost
by
double.
United States Air Force intercepted at this altitude over Goose Bay, Labrador by a United States Air Force F-101 Voodoo. But the other 7 Vulcans all managed to penetrate American airspace to launch simulated bombing attacks on US cities. They then turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland. The question was, how had the Vulcan managed it? The answer was their highly advanced electronic countermeasures systems and the Vulcan's amazing maneuverability. For example, the flight of 4 aircraft that approached from Bermuda were successful because 3 of them put up a wall of electronic interference that prevented interception, while the 4th Vulcan carried out a simulated nuclear strike. This was all rather embarrassing for Strategic Air Command, which quickly buried all stories about British bombers having nuked US targets and confidently assured the American public that US air defenses were, as I said, 99% effective. However, the following year, the Americans invited the RAF to take part in Exercise Sky Shield 2. Perhaps the US AF was determined to show that the Vulcan's previous success was only a fluke, a one-time only event. Sky Shield 2, which occurred on the 14th of August, 1960.
Okay, so I wasn't right at all, actually. I thought there were... What I'm saying is, obviously, it goes without saying, the title, obviously, no matter how direct it might say when they nuked America, people know that never happened. So it's either this or what I thought would technically... So this is different than what I thought, all right, I admit. But they didn't nuke America, all right? They did in a simulation. And, all right, I wasn't right.
Was an even bigger event than the first one. It caused 2,900 US and Canadian flights to be grounded, affecting 125,000...
All right, I'm back. Sorry. I ate some pasta and I got pasta sauce on my shirt. I had to change shirts. All right, let's do it.
Canadian flights to be grounded, affecting 125,000 commercial passengers. During the exercise, 125 US and British bombers would be pitted against 1,800 fighters and 250 missile sites, and over 200,000 Air Force personnel from the US and Canada.
Coming up on 16.5 seconds. Now, continuing.
I mean, it's fascinating, but at the same, like, I didn't know about all the intense training during the Cold War, you know, to prepare for any possible situation with nuclear war or whatnot. So this is new to me, yet I'm not surprised. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, you know.
Ready now. 3 hard here. Come up. 6 up, standing by front.
Again, 8 Vulcan B-2s participated, split again into 2 flights. One attacking on the northern route from RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland via Canada, and the other 4 aircraft on a southerly route from Kindley Air Force Base, Bermuda. The B-47 Stratojets simulated low-level Soviet bombers. The B-52s would attack between 35,000 and 42,000 feet, while the Vulcans again operated at the highest altitude, 56,000 feet. At the massive NORAD, or North American Air Defense Bunker at Colorado Springs, the U.S. top brass was joined by the RAF's air...
Can I just say, the Air Force is a crazy thing. Not any single country's Air Force, but just aerial combat. I know, hot air balloons were used at sometimes for like to get vantage points. I'm not sure if they were ever used in combat. In like the 19th century. But I mean, tanks are big too. But I mean, they've always been some idea of a tank, or a unit that acts like a tank, or like a navy, artillery. There's always been some form of that. But Air Force is just such a game changer, and radar and all that too. Submarines.
30 simulated low-level Soviet bombers. The B-52s would attack between 35,000 and 42,000 feet, while the Vulcans again operated at the highest...
One more thing, sorry, I just want to say about Nazi Germany in World War II. I think that the two things that they were kind of great at, like, what areas of warfare was Nazi Germany good at in World War II? I would say their submarines and their Air Force. I mean, their tanks are great too, but I think that the sort of... I mean, they were in World War I, submarines and planes to an extent, but I think they were much more perfected in World War II. And I think that part of their success in a lot of areas of blockading with submarines, or blitzkrieging is their submarines and then their Air Force, and so it must have seemed very futuristic as an army having these two new things, built so well.
Low-level Soviet bombers. The B-52s would attack between 35,000 and 42,000 feet, while the Vulcans again operated at the highest altitude, 56,000 feet. At the massive NORAD, or North American Air Defense Bunker at Colorado Springs, the U.S. top brass was joined by the RAF's Air Marshal Sir Kenneth Cross of Bomber Command and Sir Wallace Kyle, Chief of the RAF Technical Training Command, to monitor the exercise. Just before 2 p.m., U.S. interceptors pounced on the B-52s, approaching at the mid to high altitude level. The Vulcans also came in from the north, and again, due to the Vulcans' high-tech jamming equipment, only one was shot down by an F-101 Voodoo fighter. In fact, large numbers of US fighters were scrambled, but they concentrated almost exclusively on the B-52s. When the Vulcans came over, the interceptors did not have sufficient fuel remaining to climb to 56,000 feet plus and engage them. The surviving 3 Vulcans conducted their attacks successfully, turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland. The southern attack force of 4 Vulcans from Bermuda reached a position 50 miles off the US coast before fighters were scrambled to intercept. Again, 3 of the Vulcans unleashed an electronic jamming screen that kept the attacking F-102 Delta Daggers busy, while the 4th aircraft crept round to the north and sneaked through. This Vulcan proceeded to land at Plattsburgh Air Force Base in New York. If this had been a real attack, New York City could have been reduced to a smoking, irradiated hole in the ground.
I think a more fitting title would be the British Air Force was able to conduct to when Britain nuked America. America failed in a nuclear war simulation to block a Allied pilot from dropping a hypothetical bomb. I don't want to rain on the... I'm going to get so many dislikes this video. Don't you do it.
Many of the stratojets and stratofortresses had also managed to evade interception and launch simulated nuclear attacks, but not at the kind of success rate that the Vulcans enjoyed. In 2 massive exercises of 8 Vulcans that attacked on each occasion, 7 had got through to their targets, an astounding survival rate against the huge might of the US air defenses. The Vulcans showed that with the right aircraft, America could be laid wide open to a nation-ending assault, something which the Soviet Union would have been very interested in.
Well, what about the MAD, mutually assured destruction? I mean, isn't that the whole point? I know, even in that scenario, you want to make sure to keep nuclear weapons from being dropped, especially on your capital or major cities. Yeah.
Fortunately for all concerned, the relationship between Britain and the United States never changed from special to decidedly antagonistic, and the Vulcans never came in anger. The American government also tried to make damn sure that nobody ever found out about the Vulcans nuking American cities. The US Air Force was very quick to deny rumors that RAF planes had once again successfully penetrated US airspace. In fact, the US government went so far as to classify all references to Vulcans included in the Sky Shield exercises. After all, if the RAF could practice nuke New York City, Washington, D.C., and even Chicago, the Soviets could do the same, if they could develop an aircraft as good as the Vulcan. As far as Strategic Air Command was concerned, the Vulcan episodes had never happened, and the US was well protected, and that protection, as I said, 99% effective. The Vulcans' successful attacks on America were only fully declassified in 1997, long after the Vulcan had left British service.
Oh, that's cool. He's on one.
Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook
right?
channel,
I am.
War Stories with Mark
Nice
Felton.
video.
You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description.
1.37 mil subscribers. Go check him out for sure. Great video. Sorry about the break in between, guys. See you guys next time.